So I don't know, maybe we can break the ice by introducing a little bit Startup Grind in Barcelona. First off, I want to welcome you to the show, Anders. So how are you doing? Welcome to
Great,
Startup Grind.
thank you, Alex. I'm doing good. I mean, I will be doing better. We'll be in Barcelona with a beer talking about this, not here in my freaking house with 4 kids around the house. So forgive me. At some point, if we have some interruption, it's gonna maybe happening, but hopefully not. Yeah, I wish we'll be there in a real event, but that will happen soon. I'm very positive about it. I think by Q4, at the end of this year, we should go back to normality.
Q4, god damn it. Like I cannot wait that long, Anders.
I know, man, but it's not looking better than Q4.
I will need a lot of beer to sustain myself
I
and wait
know,
until
I
Q4.
totally
But yeah,
agree.
that's what can we do. Anyway, so long story short, what we do at Startup Grind, as I said, this is a monthly event. Usually we do it offline, but since February last year, we've been doing them online. So feel free to join us, even if you're not from Barcelona. We've had some events. We had people from Romania, people from Ukraine, people from Latin America, so people from all over the world. This is fantastic. So thank you for joining. We're global partners with AWS for Startups, also supported by Google for Startups as well. And basically, we are in over 600 cities, over 135 different countries in the world. That means we're literally everywhere. We have chapters in Gibraltar, we have chapters in Moldova, we have chapters in all of the countries in Latin America and Asia, and pretty much everywhere in the world. We got a chapter in Mauritius, we have a chapter in Andorra. We're seeing a lot of chapters. And last week, I was featured in Startup Grind in Mataró. So we're like, we were in Mataró, 1 hour north from Barcelona. We're everywhere. Anyways, let's welcome you to the show because you're based in Madrid, Anders. So tell us a little bit about your background, like especially the company you sold, because that was perhaps the story that we're going to articulate from here is how you went from founder to VC and how you're breaking the rules of venture capital, because your VC is not the traditional kind.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
start with your company.
sure. So background is starting very boring. I started after going to uni. I went to investment banking, worked there for 3 years, and I got extremely tired of that and bored of being in investment banking. So in 2009, in the middle of the last crisis, decided to quit the bank and try to, with my partner, tried to launch our own startup. The name of the startup was TicketBiz, and it was quite successful at the end. From 2009 to 2015, 2016, actually, we grew the company from nothing to almost over 400 employees, 100 millions in sales, 25% margin, profitable company, selling in 40 something
Amazing.
countries, and it's still growing 100% per year when we sold the company. And so the thing was going great. But what happened in the middle of all that is that eBay came, they make first an offer in 2004, 2015 that we rejected, and then they came back with an offer that we couldn't reject. It was 3 times the price they offered at first. And it was a life-changing event. A lot of people ask me, well, you have a company that's growing so much, why you sell the company? Well, look, for me, I did 100% of my money was in the company, right? I invested my own money. I even took a loan to invest in my company. I went all in my company. So it was it wasn't an easy decision, but I think it was the right decision. I don't know many founders who are actually regret to have sold the company, and I know a lot who have regret not to sell the company. So happy about doing that, especially looking at the COVID right now. Imagine having a ticketing company in the COVID right now. Oof.
Yeah, Eventbrite are not very happy about this.
Exactly. But before the COVID, I mean, with the company, the business how it was going, and now being in the investment industry, I was like, shit, I could have waited a couple of years, I could have got a lot more money. But anyway, I'm happy we did it. And from 2016, the eBay, one part of the deal was that we were gonna stay there for at least 3 years. And we were gonna lead the international part of the side of the business that acquires the business unit that acquires inside the what's called a StubHub. We basically did the same that we did, but in the US and UK and Germany. And what they did is just give us all the international business at the US and let us you run it now. So it was interesting. It was an interesting experience, but I realized that corporate world is not for me by any means. It's boring, it's slow. You don't make any fucking decisions. I actually, it was funny. I tried 6 months to do my best to try to push, like we were pushing our startup. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. and it was impossible. It was totally impossible. At the end, after 6 months, I decided that I couldn't stay there. So we start trying to get out of the company. And what happened there is that the president of eBay actually didn't let us go.
Oh my God. How did you
Yeah,
solve
no,
that?
it's true. So it's a very funny story. So we were trying, and at some point we were in a conference with it was the president of eBay and the president of our business unit, etc. And he comes to give a speech, and then at some point said, "Ander, John, come here. You guys are doing a great job. You need to keep doing it." Blah blah blah. And in the 2 hours ago, we have been telling them we want to leave.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
How did that go? How did that go then?
Devin, thank you for that. Yeah. So anyway, it took us 2 years to actually that they let us leave, but at the end we left, and we're grateful because they let us leave in good condition, and we finished well. It wasn't a problem. But it was an interesting time. And then when we left in 2018, it was time for us to decide what to do next. And actually, becoming an investor was a natural step for us, to be honest. Since we sold the company in 2016, it was one of the biggest exits in Spain at that time. I think it's going to become very small shortly because there is a lot of movement right now in the market and a lot of companies that are getting much higher valuation, and it's going to become a medium small exit in the short future. But at the time, it was a big exit for the Spanish ecosystem, and that allowed us to get a well-reputed name, and a lot of people start contacting us, asking us to help them invest in their companies. So we start investing as business angel. Since we sold the company, starting in 2017, we start investing. And by the time we quit eBay, that was August 2018, we already have invested quite a good amount of money, and it was a natural step for us just to professionalize that. And instead of just investing our money, create a venture capital and invest our money plus other people's money. And that's how we became, we moved from entrepreneurs to investor. Although I say that launching your own fund is like starting your own startup, right? You need to convince some people to give you money who are the investor, and then you have your clients who are the startup. So it doesn't change that much.
Yeah, you need to fundraise because you need to find new LPs and whatever.
Yeah, it's the same thing. A little less stress, let's be honest, but it's the same thing.
Just one quick question. I want you to be completely honest with that. Do you remember your first pitch deck, your first investment deck? Do you remember it?
From TicketBiz?
Yeah, correct.
My startup. Yes, it wasn't even called TicketBiz. It was called Entradia at the time. And it was. I see it right now.
Not a bad name.
Something that I will put in the garbage there list.
That was going to be my question. Now, as a VC or as an angel investor, would you have invested into that company if you had received that pitch deck?
Is a very good question, and the answer is probably not, because it was two guys, zero experience in nothing related to internet, nothing to investment. The guys coming from investment bank with an idea that was copying a model that was happening in the US, but with zero connection with the internet, didn't know anything about technology, marketing, didn't know anything about ticketing, we didn't know anything. So I'm still don't know how the hell we raised the first money. We raised 400K, around the 400K. I don't know how we convince people, to be honest, but here we are.
That's my point. Like a lot of brilliant people I've interviewed around here in the startup kind of events, in our podcast, MarsBased. I've asked this question, and most of them, they say like, no, I would have never invested in my company. I mean, the most famous one is I asked that to one of the founders of Shazam, right? It's like, now that you're an investor, would you have invested in Shazam? He's like, no. Like he was very blunt about it. Like, no, hell no, I wouldn't. I would have never invested in that company. Like, we're only guys, super convoluted cap table, no real way of making money, blah, blah, blah. It was so difficult. It was ultra niche, over the kiki and whatever. I was like, so how did you turn the situation around? Like if you receive a lot of no's from investors, but then you manage to raise money and create a company. So how did you do it? What do you think was like your formula for success?
Well, for us, the one of the things is both John and myself working for previously investment banking. John is my partner. He was my partner, to make clear, this is my partner on the company I founded before TicketBiz, and he still remains my partner in everything I have built so far in all areas.
So you still like each other?
Yeah, exactly. I call him my second wife, so don't say that too loud to my wife, but yeah. Anyway, one of the Yes. Sorry, you were asking, Alex. I lose track of what you were asking. Sorry about that.
Yeah. How did you make it to, like, from all these notes that you got?
Yeah.
Like, how did you turn the situation around?
Yes. So as I was saying, both from investment bank, we did have money that we have saved. One of the things you do in investment bank is work. You make money and you don't have time to spend it. So we have money.
Yeah.
We basically start with that money plus family puts money on it, and then we convince a couple of interesting entrepreneurs to back us up, and they saw something on us. They didn't see. They saw the same problems that I was telling, nothing related to internet, etc. But they saw two guys that were intelligent, that were looking to a sector that was already proved outside, a business model that has worked outside, and a business model that makes sense to create it here. It was to create an organized marketplace for reselling tickets. The demand was there, the market was there, and as I was saying, the model has been proved outside, but nobody was doing it at that point in Spain. So we convinced two entrepreneurs to actually back us up, and that's what really helped us launch. And from them on, we were lucky enough that the first year, from the first year, that was the hardest one. The first one, once we raised the first money, 400K. Then after that, the next round was much easier because we did 1 million in sales the first year, then 5, then 12, then 28, then 55, then almost 100. So it was much easier because the company was really doing well, and so everything as we raised from there, it was much easier. You have something to talk about. No? You have a base of numbers that were very good.
And that's a great story, but unfortunately, I think pretty much everybody in the ecosystem has already listened to the story. I wanted to focus this event more on all iron, but I wanted to give some context. So from there, then you started angel investing. How long did it take from how many investments did you do with your partner or alone before you decided it was a good time to create a fund? Because one of the things that you need in order to create a fund is to have some track record, right? And that track record, you probably got it from your for background as an entrepreneur, but also from your angel investing.
Yeah, so it's a very good point. So we started investing in 2017. We left eBay in 2018. At some point before leaving eBay, once we have more clear that we were going to be able to leave soon, we started deciding what was next, and that's what we decided, that we were going to create the fund. And at some point in 2018, before leaving, we start moving things to create the fund. So 2 people joined the team. We professionalized the team. Instead of being me and my partner, Hugo and Diego, joined us, and we created a strong team to create the fund. And we start all the process with, in Spain, to create a fund is a pain. I think it's the same everywhere because you need to be regulated and you need to talk to, in Spain, it's called the CNMV, which is a body that regulates all the funds, etc. And is a process that takes 9 months, something like that. So we start the process. And then we finally launched. It took us a little bit longer even, and we finally launched the fund in April 2019. Before that, we were, even without the fund, we were talking to potential investor to invest in the company. We started talking that at the end of 2018, once we quit eBay, basically. And yeah, it's important to have some track record, but for us, it was people believe on us because what we have created before, more rather than what we have invested. So it was the main thing that they believe on is you guys have made something successful here. I think you can invest and do something interesting in this sector. The other thing that we did, and I think was very important for us, is instead of creating a fund that was a blind pool of capital, like give me the money, I will invest in whatever I feel like. With our own money, what we did is start investing in companies that we like. And when we launched the fund, we always pitch these companies saying, look, as soon as we have the fund regulated and active, we will transfer all these companies at the cost to the fund. So the fund already launched it. I think it was with 12 names, that were companies that we have invested previously. And the money has been advanced by me and John. And that was something a little bit different, right? That will help us, is because, okay, here are the names of the companies. I can tell you with eyes and face what are the companies you're going to be investing. At least part of the fund is going to go to these companies. This is the price that we enter, and this is the reason why we invested, and that's how we thought about it, etc., etc. So that really helps on the process, to be honest. So it was a combination of our track record plus a combination of not being 100% blind pool at first because of what we did.
Which is not easy, because precisely I'm looking at the technicalities of creating a fund myself right now, and one of the things I had been asking is like, well, is there any way I can transfer my angel investments into the fund? And the main answer you get is no, you can't. Like it's super complicated. And now you're telling me that yes, you can. So this part of the opacity that we are seeing in this wall. I mean, one of the main problems in VCs is this huge gatekeeping, right? And it's there's opacity, it's regulated, but the regulations aren't very clear. Regulations in Spain are especially shit because they're architecture in such a way that Hacienda will be able to interpret the laws to their own benefit, but not to you. So they are not that clear, but seems like the bank always
that
wins,
governments
right?
always win, my friend.
They,
That happen in every country in the world.
yeah, exactly. So it's like a little wonder why other people go to other countries or not. So that's especially a thorny issue. Though let's not get into that. But the sheer amount of paperwork, bureaucracy, procedures, and workflows you got to follow when you want to open a fund. Most people are like, fuck this shit, I'm not going to go. So you might have had a very good reason to create a fund. What was it? Like, what was your vision? And especially, what do you think you're contributing? What's your different angle?
Yeah. So for us, when we left eBay, we thought about what is next for us. And one thing we have clear is I'm not somebody that can just stop working and just relax in the beach and say, oh, I'm going to do some investment and that's it. No, I need action. I need to do things. My partner is like me. We needed to do something. So for us, it was like a good next step to invest in this sector, and we have the expertise, etc. And what we decided that we were going to do something here, for us it was very interesting to, okay, I have this capacity, this amount of money that I'm going to invest, but if I'm able to convince other investor, and actually all Iron Venture is 110 millions under management, well, then with that money, I can not only invest in companies at the stage that I'm investing, but then I can follow up in certain ones, the ones that I really like, until investing a big check on them. No? So that was the reason why, instead of just investing our own money, we launched that fund and allow other investors to invest with us. And as we were born like that, is to your point, Alex, we created something that is very, very different from all the rest of the venture capitals. First of all, is a venture capital. There are not many in Europe. You and me, Alex, were talking about it earlier. In the US, it's normal to have venture capital run by entrepreneurs. Not the same.
Correct.
You don't have many. So that's a first difference. But and that what helped us is that we know we have been where you guys are, and I think we have suffered a lot, and we have learned a lot on the process, and then we can bring the expertise to the companies we invest. I think that's very important. But there is other differentiators that I think are important. For example, we didn't raise any money because we didn't want to raise money from government bodies, not from
That's good. No public funding, right?
Yeah, no public funding, zero public funding.
Thank you for that. Thank you for not squandering our taxes in startups.
Exactly. Yeah. So zero public funding, and that's important
That's
because public funding comes with certain attachments in terms of where you have to invest the money or regions, times you have to put time periods for investing this investment, etc. So we didn't have that. It allowed us to create a structure that is much more flexible than everything else in the market. We don't have an investment period, so we can invest the money whenever we want. So if we see good opportunities, we will invest it in 3 years, 4 years, but it takes longer, whatever. We want to maximize return. So that's one thing. But then also good for the companies is that we can be with the company as long as we want. We don't have that attachment on, in 5 years, I invest, and in 5 years I need to exit. I don't have that. If I need to stay 10 years in a company because I believe in it and I think it's a good investment, I will spend 10 years, 12 years, whatever. It doesn't matter. If it's shorter, whatever. But I don't have that attachment, which I think is very important because it allows us to create long-term relation with the companies. That's one thing. The other thing that we have also very different is that we have a lot of flexibility in terms of what we can do. We don't have allocations per regions. We can invest whatever we want. And actually, our fund is super international. The objective was to do 50% of the investment in Spain because it's where our track record, etc. is, and 50% outside. The reality is last year we did 25% in Spain, 75% outside of Spain. So it's we invest all over Europe, and I would call it we're a European fund more than a Spanish. So we're a European fund, and then we do certain things in the US, always together with local
partners.
With local partners, yeah, with local funds that know their shit there. We will never invest directly without local partner in the US, but with people that we trust, we invest there as well. But so that's another thing that is quite different, and that is because we didn't get any public money. We were able to do that. And then the next thing that we did different is, as I don't have any restraints, neither, not only in terms of geography, but in terms of phase that I invest and ticket size. So phase that I invest, I have priorities. I prefer to invest early in good companies. Come on, that's something that everybody wants, but that's what we look for. So we try to invest more in seed, Series A, but I can do pre-seed, and we have done pre-seed rounds. I can do Series B, and we have done direct seed B's round. And we can invest in all the way in a company. So once we invest in a company, we can invest until whatever the maximum we can invest is around 15 million, 1.5 in a company. So we can be really long-term investor and invest in all the rounds of the company. So there is one that we have in the portfolio that we have invested, I think it's 11 million already. Loquiero is our biggest investment so far. So we can really track and continue with the company all the way through. And I think that's very powerful, because there are not many funds that have the flexibility that we have to do so. And then, sorry, the last thing is, as we didn't have private funding, sorry, we didn't have public funding. Yeah. Exactly. We have all private funding, and all our LPs are private individuals that are some of the richest families in Spain, some of the most well-connected private individuals, etc. So it's 150 people that are backing us up. There are very good connections, and that really helps when somebody wants to do something that are a Spanish, that the market, some of the part of the companies in Spain, we can really help them. So we are very good at helping them with our local network, and then we also bring on the table the expertise that we have on Latin America, Asia, and Europe, but by launching our company, so we can help there. But our network in Spain is extremely strong, and that's a value add that we bring as well. And it's very different from other funds, and it comes because our investment base is not is very different. And sorry about the baby. 4 kids, and I warned you before we start this.
No worries. No, actually, so you have answered all the questions I had for you. So, well, thank you everybody for being here. We can wrap it up. No, just kidding. But I wanted to touch on each and every single thing about this, because it's very interesting. Now that I've been reading a lot about VC and the structure of funds, how you do it, you mentioned that you have no investment period, or no, this investment period, this and that, like you do all sorts of like sectors and countries. Let's just focus on very few things. First one, and I want a short answer for this one because we will need time for the other ones, but like the name is very unusual. I think I know the story. But you didn't choose the typical like super like big sounding name, like, you know, whatever thing, capital, sounds flashy, sounds we're rich people. You chose all iron. And the first time I read about you, I thought you would only invest in like industrial startups or things related, you know, metallurgy and things like that, just because of the name. The name describes a lot, right? Yeah. But you will have a different answer for that.
Yeah, no. So the name for us, we wanted to create this, and I'm from Bilbao, I'm from the north of Spain. It's a small city where there hasn't been much startups growing, but we thought that what we wanted to prove is that it's possible to launch a startup or a business or in venture capital from wherever you are. You don't need to do it in Madrid, Barcelona, London, or wherever, right? So that's the first thing we proved, that you are able to do it. And actually, except me, that I'm based in Madrid, the rest of the team is based in Bilbao. That's the first thing. And then the name is a consequence of that. We are from the Basque Country. There is in the 19th century, there was the iron in the Basque Country was the most precious in the world, because it was considered, it was the best to build the steel. So there was a lot of miners that came from the UK, who was the biggest consumer at that time, and there was a lot of exploitation of mineral. And whenever they found some iron on the soil, they put outside of the mine a big panel that called all iron. In Spain they say alirón, and that's become like everybody celebrate because there was an extra pay, etc., etc. And that became later the name for the what we say when we celebrate the local victories of the best team in the world, Athletic Bilbao, of course. When we celebrate those victories, it's Alirón, Athletic Campeón. So,
but also in Spain, it's like they have adopted that to whoever wins the title of the league. It's like cantan el Alirón, right?
El Alirón, so, exactly. Yeah. So it's that, but it comes from there, from that actually from the mines, from the iron mines. So for us, it was a name that reflected the past of the region we are from.
Where you come from?
Basque Country, with the future and how that has modernized, and with also our local football team that we are all supporters, and it was a good combination. So that's why we picked that name. And as you say, it's totally different. And I totally agree with you. You first read it is all iron. These guys are the venture capital. What the hell?
They're investing in what, right? Like, yeah,
what?
in
iron, right?
Yeah.
It's mineral industry, exactly.
I like it because it reminds me of heavy metal, and that's kind of like my thing. So I thought I was like, yeah, that's
the other reason, but I normally don't say that in public.
Let's get into the fund structure, right? Whenever you create a fund, and correct me if I'm wrong because you're the VC here, and I'm usually just asking dumb questions, trying to sound intelligent, but I'm doing my best. Usually, you define a budget, you define the size of the fund, and the number of companies you're going to invest in, a percentage of which is like for the first ticket, and then you've got another percentage for the follow-ons, right? But I don't know if you created this, because it seems like you don't split it evenly. So you didn't do the math of like, we've got 20 million fund, we're going to invest in 40 startups, therefore we've got all the tickets are going to be, first check are going to be like 250K, right? So how did you do the math? Like, how's your Excel look like?
There is no math.
There is no math. It's magic. There's only math. You're Basque. You're Basque. You don't need math.
No, but we can invest a check from first check 100K to 3 million. So
yeah,
there is no math there. And then in some companies we can invest up to 15 million. So instead of doing close investment scenario where you say exactly that, a lot of funds that I'm going to invest only checks of 250, and then the companies are good on 20% of those, I'm going to invest another 500K, and that's how I make my money. I'm going to invest 100% of my fund. What we did is I'm as sector agnostic. I can invest in seed, Series A, eventually in Series B or pre-seed. I'm much more broader. What I do is a dynamic approach, where every 6 months we look at our portfolio, what we have invested so far, and we look at what companies we think are going to need follow-on capital and how much we would like to invest in the next rounds. That pot we reserve, and the rest is what we still have available to invest in new companies. And that exercise is done every 6 months. So it's a dynamic exercise instead of having a closed exercise. We believe in that because things change, and you need to adapt fast. In technology, you are in an environment that is completely different to the rest. It's very dynamic, as you all know very well. So if you have a closed theory, you can actually. Our belief is that you can actually get worse in returns, because there will be exceptions that actually make sense to do that are out of your rigidity. But you are very rigid; you never do it. So anyway, that's the way we did it, and we're still doing it like that. Every 6 months, we look at how much money we need to reserve, and the rest is available for investment. That's
which I think it's like a huge difference between what we were saying before, right? So in the US, most VCs are run by former founders, but they're losing that because they're becoming so big that they bring bankers or like, people fresh from university, and they don't have that edge that founders have, right? So they are turning more and more professionalized, more like banker style in the US. Whereas here in Europe, it's happening the other way around, that former bankers used to run VCs, never been done great. Most VC funds, they just lose money all the time. But now the generations of, the newer generations of successful founders like you or, Iñaki Arrolan Fund, or the guys in like Skype in Atomico, whatever, it's VCs led by founders, and therefore they can make these exceptions, right? So, you're not tied to, I got to invest, 40 checks of 250K, and then I've got, $500,000 for follow-ons for each check, but that's it. I wouldn't be able to invest, 2 million in this startup, even if it's freaking Uber, right? You're not able to make investors because you think like a banker, and that's going to break your Excel. And right now I'm looking at an Excel. That's the theory of VC funds, which you're telling me you don't have. However, you need to make all these things like glued together. Otherwise, like, it's not like you've got infinite money, right? So how do you calculate that? Like, do you reinvest the money that you've gained all the time? And how do you keep it all together? It seems crazy to me the way you run your fund, but it's brilliant, of course.
No, it's just, how much money you have, and you keep track of how much you are investing. And as I say, you have a pocket that is safe, but it's a dynamic pocket. It's not a fixed pocket. So depending on how the companies are evolving, you actually save more or less. And the difference between what you have invested plus the money you have reserved is what you can do for new investment. That's exactly what we're doing. It's not more complex than that. And but it's something that I agree. I don't know many people who are doing this. Most of the investors have a very fixed approach and methodological approach, and I don't know which one is righter or which one is better. For us, I think this method, it works perfectly well because of our flexibility. As we are very flexible, we need a method like that, as we can invest in different stages and very different sectors. We need to be able to have flexibility to adapt, and I think for us that's an edge. That's a very different edge than other funds.
And that's precisely the way I would like to run my own VC fund if I ever create one. Because like for me, it seems stupid because one of the other things that you don't have, and I always thought it was like, I don't know, useless because it restricts you. Like it's kind of like a constricting thing. Is the investment periods. And these investment periods, right? So you're not able technically to invest outside of your investment periods, which technically are like the first, 3 years of your fund, 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
But if you got a great opportunity there, it's like, no, technically you got to do 100% of your checks. You got to write them in this first 5 years. Yep. What ultimately happens is that a lot of VC funds are like, wow, I need to sign 3 or 5 or 10 checks because I haven't done all of them. And they tend to kind of like spray and pray here. So the quality of their deals is lower. Therefore, it's damaging the brand as well, right? I don't know. What's your opinion on this, and why did you decide not to have this?
No, what happened is on the year 4, if you look at the data, year 4 and 5, the investment tend to be worse because it's exactly what you're saying. You need to invest 100%, and you tend to invest in whatever comes that makes that you can invest on. Because what the last thing you're gonna do, let's put it this way. The business model of a regular investor in venture capital is I raise a fund of 50 and then I need to raise a fund of 100. So if I haven't proved that I'm able to raise a fund of 50, I'm going to raise a fund of 100. So I need to invest 100%, whatever the deal flow I have. I need to prove that I'm able to invest it. And then I will bullshit about the investments over the second fund. Or the second fund, it's easy to bullshit because you can bullshit the numbers of the first fund. There is not really proof still. The reality comes on the third fund. The third fund is a proof because the third fund, there is no bullshitting about the numbers of the first fund. You already have them. So you either have done well or no.
Yeah. But you went straight for the 100, right? So
yes. In our case,
because we were fuck it, right?
Yeah, so we were lucky because it helps us a lot that we put a good amount of money ourselves. That helps a lot because it gives a lot of confidence to investors as well. It's not the regular fund where you put 2% of the money. We put a big check there, and that gives us a lot of confidence to the funds. But still, even if without taking into account the money that we put on, it was the biggest fund launched in Spain as a first-time fund without any public money. So I think it's a big success. I think a lot of people have confidence on us, on what we had built in the past, and especially on the different approach that we were taking, that we were really into it, and that we were doing things different in this sector.
Huge inspiration for the people who want to do things differently and we don't want to follow the traditional path, because it seems like in VC happens the same as with startups, that there is an ABC methodology of how to do things, right? So startup, you go for product, talk to potential clients, build an MVP as resourcefully as possible, then raise some funds, then just hire your team, scale, maybe rewrite the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. And then you go scaling. It seems like there's a fixed ABC that if you follow it, you might end up where others have, ended. Yeah. However, if you do things different, you might find another path and you might also be successful. But it seems like we're taught to only look this way, right? Follow the ABC. Is it the same in VC? Because I don't have any visibility in that, but is it the same in VC? Do you think 99% of the funds are ABC?
Yeah, it certainly looks like that way. But we come back to the origin of VCs. Most of them are run by private by investors that haven't been entrepreneurs, that haven't been there. So you are to learn a theory on how it has to run, and that's what you apply. And then the other big factor here is, I would say, over 90% of the VCs in Europe, most of their money comes from public entities, European Investment Fund, similar to ICOs. And those comes with attachments in terms of how much money you need to invest in a certain country, what is the investment period. So even if you want to innovate, you are constrained, you are getting their money. So there's two problems, right? I mean, you come from an industry that is super rigid, etc., and then you get into you get certain investors that don't allow you to innovate. So the combination of both is what I think makes exactly what you're saying. There is not much innovation. There haven't been much innovation. I'm seeing some innovation. I'm seeing some VCs that are actually doing machine learning to actually invest, and that even not taking investment commitment, that just basically putting all the information into a machine, and the machine is telling them invest in this company or don't invest. Don't know how that's gonna work, but there is at least some people are trying that. I have seen also another model that I like lately, VCs that are taking actually the pro rata that funds have in earlier stage that they cannot take because they are restrained to invest in a certain stage, that they take that pro rata and give something to the fund in exchange. So you get a good deal flow from all the rest of the funds because in the good, you can invest in the pro rata. We did also another difference that not many VCs are doing, and I think it's very short list of VCs. As we are entrepreneurs and we still are entrepreneurs at heart, one of the other things that we're doing different is we decided that we're going to launch from all our own ventures one project every 6 to 9 months. Is a project that we basically we get an entrepreneur with us, and between the entrepreneur and John and me, yep, go ahead. Oh, okay. Between the entrepreneur, John, and me, we basically figure out the idea that is going to work, and we work from the idea consideration to launching, creating a company. We invest 1.1 million into this business. And at the end of this process, after these 6-9 months, the entrepreneurs still have majority of the company. So we put 1.1, we help all the way, and they have majority, it's their company. We are just an investor there. And we do this because we truly believe we still like to be entrepreneurs. That's where at heart. Investing is fun, but creating companies is even funnier. So that's one of the things as well.
How about in terms of structure, right? Because when I take a look at the theory of creating a fund, there's management fees, but we hear of certain VCs that don't have management fees, even though it sounds like a little bit complicated, but they might leave off other stuff. There's, administration issues, there's a marketing budget, there's an office expense. However, office expense might disappear right now, right? But like, what other things have you done different in terms of structure? Like, how's your structure at All Iron, for instance?
So one of the things we did is the management fees. We didn't like the current, how normally VCs work, that you charge 2% of the capital that is actually coming into the fund. If you have 100, you put in a 100 million fund, 2% is that you actually take from the investor 2 million per year during 10 years, 5 years to invest, 5 years to invest, plus another extra of around 2 years. So you take 12 years at 2%, 24 million. So actually to the startup is only 24 million that come to the pockets of the manager, and what arrives to the startup, right? So we did not create All Iron Ventures to make money. I don't have a salary. My partner don't have a salary. We created it because we wanted to invest in this world. We wanted to give back in a way as well to the community, and we believe there was good things to be done in this sector that we could help bring companies to the next level and really and make good investment as well, of course. But we didn't do it to have a salary. So one of the things we did is cut those commissions. Instead of charging those 2% of the capital commitment, we charge 2% of the capital really invested. So if I invested 10 million the first year, instead of charging 2% over 100, I charge 2% over 10. So my commission is 200K. And I maximize this on 5 years per investment. So instead of charging for over 10 years, every time I make an investment at the maximum of 5 years, I stop charging anything. So the part of money that arrives to a startup after all this, in our case, from 100 million, our calculation is, instead of in a typical fund that would be 75, 78 million that arrives to a startup, in ours it will be between 92 and 94 million that arrives to a startup. So it's a big difference. And that allows us also to invest more in startups, and also it helps as well in the returns, of course, because you invest more in startups. But it's also aligned more with the investor, right? I'm not having a salary. I'm not here to make money, charge money on the capital and management. I'm here to invest in companies and make money of it. I'm gonna turn on the light because we're coming next. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
And there, okay, much better now.
Yeah.
We have quite a lot of questions coming from the audience. Before we go into questions from the audience, I have another one for you. Rolling funds, kind of like these more like indie amateur VCs that are being created right now by, some tech people pulling together like 1-2 mil, something like that, in order to invest in whatever they want, that ultimately they get better deals just because they are on the ground. They are friends with, they're friends with some famous investors, some famous entrepreneurs that they create a new company, and they're the first ones to get invited in the triple F rounds, right? I don't know, kind of like if you're in the industry in Barcelona, you might get to invest in the next startup of Nacho González Barros, the next startup of Iñaki Cenarro, who is with you, I believe. So things like that, right?
Iñaki is our face in Barcelona, correct? Yeah.
Correct. So, but it seems to me that traditional VCs are losing this battle just because they're so spread that they cannot focus on having these kind of like really small friendships where we get the deal flow, right? I'm getting this kind of deal flow right now, right? That's why I have the idea of creating a rolling fund. But so what's your opinion on these kind of funds? How do they complement you or the ecosystem altogether?
I think it's super important. Business angel in general, and this is small fund, is what the money is allocated at the first stages, is needed to create a healthy ecosystem. Normally funds like us invest a little bit later. We don't tend not to invest in pre-seed, although we can do it, and we have done it in the past. It's not the normal thing. We tend to invest once there is a little bit of something proven, some sales, something that is already, is not just an idea, there is something already there. And to create the idea, you still need money, right? So to have these funds and a professional business angel that start early in the company that help them through the first stages, I think is a proof of a healthy ecosystem, and they are super needed. And we work very close with them, to be honest. We work super close. One of the things we have is a program of a business angel where we have some of the top business angel in Europe in that program, and we basically are talking all the time and sharing with them what we're seeing, and they're sharing with us what they see, and that's one of the ways we got to good companies. We are super close to the business angel, and in a change of then helping us to get some of these early, what we do is offer them to enter into the companies we're investing at. So a lot of times when we invest in a company, it's not just us investing, it's us with the founder from Booking, the founder from blah, 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 whatever. So we have a group of people that invest with us in these companies, and it's because of that, because we actually believe in the power of this network, and we try to, even if we have to put less money into a company, we believe they will bring a lot of value to a company, and we let them invest with us always. That's one of the things we do.
What is the difference between a venture partner and a scout for a venture capital? Because you mentioned you've got venture partners like Iñaki Cenarro, founder of Trovit.
Yeah. So venture partners is one step further. So Iñaki is not just the guy who is our face in Barcelona. He gets deals, but he's also involved in a lot of things inside the fund that are not just the things that he brings. He's involved in the deal flow, constantly analyzing opportunities, and also giving his opinion to all the time of what to do, not to do, where to go, having calls with entrepreneurs, and also certain companies that he has expertise on, he's helping them. So it's one step further. Venture partner is more involved. He's not full-time, of course. He has a lot of other things, but he's much more involved than just a simple scout.
But have you got, are you using scouts as well in All Iron, or not really?
No, it's for us is the deal flow comes from two different sources. Well, directly from entrepreneurs, of course, but then a lot of it comes directly from business angels, as I say, with the program, something like what I've told you, that we share and we then let them invest in what we invest as well. And then the third party is from other venture capital. We are different in the sense that most venture capital, when they invest in a company, they tend to try to, if they like the company, to get 100% or 80% of the round, don't leave any space for anybody else. We believe is wrong, and we share everything, and we normally, when we invest across with other venture capitals, and that allows us that when as we share all of our deals with other venture capital that can bring something to the table apart from the money that we believe can help the company, when they do investment outside, they invite us, and that's how we get so many international deals as well, because they are just giving us back what we have let them invest No? So it's a different approach. We believe we prefer to do that and co-invest with other guys rather than having 100% of the round and we say, oh, I really believe this is the next Uber. I'm gonna get 100%. No, yeah. Even if I believe this is the next Uber and it's the best deal I've seen in my life, I try to put people that can help, business angel and other funds into it. I will get a smaller portion, but I don't care because I think it's the best for the company, and long term is the best for the returns as well of my fund, because it will help me in the future. That will come back to us and help us as well with other deal flow. So it's a more long term approach you want to do.
Oh, it is. It is indeed. We got a question for both of us. That's funny. That's the first time I think we got a question also for me as an investor. What's the best investment you've ever made?
Oh, you respond at first.
All right, for me, it's going to be an easy one. It's my company. You know, I just put in 1,000 euros at the beginning because we're 3 partners, and it's the one that's giving me more returns so far. Of course, I have invested in more companies, but I started doing angel investing only 5 years ago. So right now, I'm about to see some of the first exits. I haven't gotten any, so that was an easy one for me. How about you?
Well, my company, of course, same thing.
That's a good one.
Invested at first, and the returns were super good. Even from the first one, I think after all the illusions from the first one, the return was like 55, 60 times from the people who put the first money after we put our money. So it was a good one. Lately, in terms of absolute, of multiplication, we invested in the first round of Power MBA. We was 100K round, and we're one of the first business angel there. And that company has boom and is doing extremely well. And as it was it was actually pre-seed. One of the
it was very easy for you, right?
So that one in terms of absolute returns per times, I think it's definitely on the top.
It's an underlying truth, however, that it's funny that every time I hear this question, and I've gotten it in another events, and I've seen it in other events as well, is that pretty much I think everybody ends up saying my own company. So here there's something like most people who are becoming investors because they don't want to work, like me. That's true. But because I worked in my due time, like that's a good investment, right?
Exactly, totally.
Anyways, what are you particularly excited about? What industries looking into the future right now? Because there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So what gets you excited? What gets you up in the morning, investment-wise nowadays?
So for me, it's the combination that I need to do something after selling the company. As I was saying, I couldn't just decide I'm gonna invest and just relax, go to the beach and have an easy life. I need to. That's how I am. I need to do things. And for me, what gets me out is I love to invest in company, and I love to learn about new business model and help the entrepreneurs. I already passed through it, so I think it's helpful. I can be helpful, and I really love to hear about their problems and try to help how to solve it. I love that. And then also, I love to start things by myself. So one of the things that I really like about our venture is, as I said before, we even launch a new startup, a new project every 6 to 9 months, which is something for me is something that I really enjoy being part of that. It's something that is entertaining. And then I don't know if you know this, Alex, but I also launched in parallel. I launched a couple other things. I launched a real estate company, quoted in the stock market. It's around 70 million market cap, and I'm doing other things. So I keep busy. For me, the thing is I need to do things. I need to keep busy.
I don't know how you get all the strength to do that. Like just by hearing you,
that's another job at home.
Just by hearing you, I'm getting tired. That's like so many things going on. Anyways, now the other thing is like I wanted to comment on. Like it seems that there's a certain arrogance, quote, when we talk about investments, traditional VCs, they are bankers. It looks like we're doing better because we are, or you are VCs, but you are founders, you're not bankers. However, they know how to make money, right? What do you think you're missing at? What do you think, like, these guys have got this skill and I don't have it just because they're more like traditional, more bankers, and our opinions here are biased, are like, are biased even. What do you think is like a bad thing to be a founder in terms of a VC?
So first of all, there is a great number of funds who are not run by founders, so that's to be clear, and they're amazing and they bring a lot of value to the company. So that's the first thing I think is important to put that into perspective. So you don't need to be, not only VCs that are run by founders can help. There is a lot of other funds that I love to work with, and they are not run by founders, but they are done that help a lot the company. So there is a little bit of everything. You cannot overgeneralize. Okay, so that's the first thing. One of the things when you are a founder and you start a venture capital, one of the things, at least in my case, that was the biggest problem at first, is you tend to, when you look at a potential investment, you have been there, so you try to put yourself into the position of the entrepreneur, and sometimes you are overconfident, like, oh yes, I see what you're saying, I will do this and this and this, we can do this. So you try. So you become overexcited because you already been there, and you see the project and you say, oh wow, I see it, and that's how we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do this and this, right? Like if you are running the show as well. So that a lot of time, that over like empathy at the end can lead you to making but the wrong investment decision, or the decision that might not be the right one if you just look at the numbers and you take a more traditional approach. And you use hardcore numbers, unit economics, okay, this works, it doesn't work, less hard into it if you want. So that's, for certain things, is good because you can be more empathic and you can understand better the vision on the company. But for certain things, you need to be careful, and you need to mix that with a pure analysis of unit economics, numbers, market, etc., etc. So I think a mix of both things is what really works. In my opinion, that's the best of what, having the best of both worlds. But if you are just an entrepreneur mind, not thinking on doing any other calculation metrics, etc., looking at the market, like doing all the hardcore analysis, you can make very big mistakes. So it's 50-50, I think, is the right skills for that. And I'm learning. I'm still learning. We have been investing for
we all are
4 years, and still learning on the job. And the most important thing is, when you make a mistake, learn from it and try to improve and don't make it again. That's the key. As when we are creating a company, it's the same thing.
Correct. And there, in 30 seconds, because we're running out of time, what kind of company would you never invest in? What are your red flags? 30 seconds.
So right now, one of the things that sometimes we receive that for me is tend to be a red flag is when I get a company that is saying, I'm an EI company that is actually in cryptocurrency with big data, and I have like all the big words there.
Buzzwords.
It's like, wow, what is this? Okay, let's look at this very, very carefully. So that's a red flag for me. And then, of course, something that I'm sure everybody says, the team. You need to invest in really good teams. That's the key, right? For when things in a market that rather think was right, might not make the biggest difference. But when things go wrong, or there is some problems, you have a good team, the company is gonna really suffer. So that's something that you really look
at. That was not 30 seconds. So there's a penalty here, which is you're going to answer another hard question from me. It's one I forgot from before. So traditional VCs, they do have their categorization of startups, like according to the kind of returns they're going to get, right? So most ambitious VCs, they'll say like, I'm going to have one unicorn and it's going to be, times 200, something like that. And whatever startup not returning a minimum of 5x, because that doesn't even cover the management fees, we're going to let them die. Like nobody speaks about them, but this is a common practice. Yeah. How do you solve this at All Iron? Is this something that happens? You guys don't do it because you're founders? How do you go about this?
Look, at the end, if you think about it, of course, you have in your portfolio the company that you think can do better and that you have invested more money. And at the end, it tends to be natural. The more money you have put and the more potential the company has, that you invest more time with those. It's totally natural. There's nothing you can do about it, and it makes sense. That say, one of the things we never do is, even if a company it's not performing according to what we thought when we invested, we try to help them. We are there to help, but of course, you need to realize that if you tend to, you are more, if you want, you are more proactive with the companies that are doing great and try to help them more proactively. and you are more, we are more reactive with the companies that are not doing that great, and we help them when they ask. We help, and we are there, but we are not proactively look to invest in time on those, because you need to pick. Your time is limited. In my case, is I've not only the venture capital, I do other things. So the
Two
time that I
benefits.
have is
Four children.
so
Four
I need
children.
to concentrate something.
Okay, now we got like, I want to do a lot of the questions that have been sent. We've got 3 minutes. So maybe what we can do is we're going to answer them with one word.
Wow.
All right. It's going to be tricky.
Oh my God.
This is an experiment. Never done it before.
Never done it before. Okay. You experimented with me. Thank you for that, Alex. Great.
Okay. So here's one. This is yes or no. Biotech.
No.
Perfect. All right. So one word only. What is the best channel to contact you?
Website.
What's that? Website.
There's a contact formulary there. Website.
Perfect. Yes or no? Do you think you are negotiating down the prices of valuations because you're a founder and you know the real deal, or not?
Depends.
Depends.
That's a word.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer too. All right. What's the next one? Have you made decisions or investing in pre-seed? How can you? Okay. What's your best setup for you to decide? Like for you to decide, where do you take the decisions?
Where investment committee for people. That's where we take the decision. But there is a process to get there. That takes a little bit more. There is a process. So there is first contact. We talk to the company.
It's a lot of words.
Yeah, no, too many words. But the final decision, investment committee, 4 people, me, my partner, and the 2 other partners of the fund. We decide all the investments.
What's the smallest check you've done as All Iron?
5K in
5. Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Yep. 5K in 110 million funds. So that's what I say. That is a little bit different.
How much time?
That's a very exception. Normally, minimum we try to do 100K.
Okay. How much time between receiving deck and signing the check, on average?
We have done things in 48 hours. I don't know, joking.
Nice.
From receiving the deck to the investing. Sometimes if we have more time to analyze and it makes sense, it can take longer. But we can be very fast if needed.
And time is up. I'm going to wrap it up with our signature question.
Oh my God. Okay.
It is, everybody has got a useless superpower. Something you do exceptionally well, and you do it all the time and almost every day, but it's fucking useless. What's yours? I can give you some examples if you want.
Give me some examples, please.
For instance, one of mine is I know the lyrics to songs I don't like, but I don't know the lyrics to the songs I like.
Oh, that's a good one.
You always misplace your socks, or you always, forget something in the plane. Or...
Actually, my organization skill are not the best, and if I show you around my office, you will see that. On that sense, that will be one, but there might be disaster, and my partner will know that whenever we go to meetings, I tend to forget something there. Either my pullover, the backpack, always forget something. It's my signature. So Andrew has passed here, he has forget something already. So
that's a good one. Thank you very much, Sandra. I think we could wrap it up here. Mila esker, and have a very good night, everybody. Thank you for attending Startup Grind.
Thank you. Eskerrik asko, Alex.